What's up, guys? Matt here with OddsJam, coming to you with my favorite money line favorite parlay for the NFL week 2. So I did this in week 1. I gave 3 teams that I thought was going to win, just took their money line, parlayed them together. Unfortunately, I went 2-1, so an L on that parlay. I had the Ravens, W. I had the Saints, lucky, but a W. But I also had the 49ers, who blew it against the Bears. It was a tough L, but that's what you get for parlaying teams together. You run yourself the risk of having that happen. But I did this over the course of the season last year, and it was successful. So I'm going to keep doing it this year. What I will say is that if you followed the bets on the podcast, the OddsJam podcast, Sweat the Bet with me and Andrew Kim, Parlay Doc, another content creator for OddsJam, you would have had a good week. We went 5-1 total. We each gave 3 best bets. I went 3-0. He went 2-1. 5-1 between the two of us is very good. So if you do want to subscribe to the OddsJam podcast, you can. Sweat the Bet. It's available on Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcasts. So I'd appreciate it if you guys were to check it out and subscribe. But like I mentioned, for this video, I'm going to be giving a Moneyline favorites parlay. So what I do for these parlays is I pick between 2 to 4 teams that I'm very, very confident is going to win. And then obviously I parlay them together. So I don't care as much about the odds of these teams because when you parlay them together, obviously the odds become much more favorable. So looking at week 2, generally, what I will say is week 2, so the gap between what happens in week 1 and week 2 is always vast when you compare year over year. If you remember last year, Packers and Titans both got spanked in week 1. Both of them came back and won week 2. Both of them became the 1 seed in their respective conferences. Every year, weirdness happens in week 1. If you remember 2 years ago, the Colts lost to the Jaguars in week 1. That was the only win of the whole season for the Jaguars. The Colts went on and made the playoffs. So just because something happens in week 1 doesn't necessarily mean, oh, it's definitely going to happen week 2, or it's an encapsulation of how the season is going to go. So just something to keep in mind. But I do think that there is some stuff you can glean. And the cool thing is I use OddsJam A to search for all the odds. So if you just go to oddsjam.com, sports, NFL, or any other sport, free line shopping, really cool. Pulls up the best money line odds for every single game. But like I mentioned, I don't care a ton about the individual odds. As long as there's value overall, then I'm good to go. But one team that I'm loving to get a win is the Rams. Obviously, minus 490 is not ideal, but they're going against the Falcons, who was my pick to be the worst team in the NFL this year. They looked good for the first 3 quarters. They blew it. And then their coach is just so salty with the media. That almost never works out year to year when a coach is, unless you're like Bill Belichick, but that's rare. So not a hot take. I like the Rams to get the win here. So the way the parlay builder works, it's really cool. And actually, let me move my camera and I'll show you why. If you click this little purple $sign here, you click it, you see it pop up purple over here, and it adds to your parlay. So all you need to do is add a bunch of plays, and it'll give you the best odds that the sportsbooks are giving for that individual parlay. Obviously, I only have 1 bet in, so nothing there. But the Rams, I know they looked bad last week against the Bills. The Falcons certainly aren't the Bills, and I would be shocked if the Rams started 0-2. I think that they're going to get it together. I think that they just kind of got whiplashed by the Bills, who are coming in clearly with motivation after how they got kicked out of the playoffs last year by the Chiefs. So that one doesn't scare me off. The next one, and this one's really easy, the Bengals money line against the Cowboys. Dak Prescott being out, I think it's a death sentence for the Cowboys. They looked horrible with him in the lineup. Now, the Bengals, they had their issues. They lost last week against the Steelers, but if their kicker makes 1 of 2 kicks, they win, and that was with Burrow having 5 or 6 turnovers. So I like the Bengals to get the win in this one. Just, again, click that button, and now you see it's giving me the best odds. So minus 167 on DraftKings is the best odds for me to place this parlay at minus 167. But that is not going to be everything. I'm going to add 1 more team, and not a hot take here. Granted, this one is a little risky because the Broncos haven't played yet, but I'm just so out on this Texans team. They had that huge lead against the Colts, and then they blew it. Despite the game being close, it wasn't necessarily representative of how the game actually went. The Colts had a dropped touchdown, a couple other drops, And the Houston Texans just playing not to lose, I think, is incredible loser energy. They punted on 4th and 1 from their own 50 in overtime, and their coach said that they would rather play for the tie than risk losing, which I just think is incredible loser energy, incredible loser mentality. I think that carries over to the team when you're coached like that. And the Texans, they're giving Rex Burkhead all this work over Dameon Pierce, while Davis Mills, not horrible, still not that great. And while the Broncos haven't played tonight, which is the risk in this one, if they look great, these odds are going to be significantly better, significantly less favorable. I mean, if they lose, these odds are going to get better. Generally, I think the Broncos are going to win. They're 7-point favorites for a reason. So even if they look a little bit disjointed, if they're able to get the win in Russ's return to Seattle, then I think that this is going to end up being, I don't think these odds are going to swing dramatically against this. So again, click this button here, pulls up all 3 teams, and now we can see we can get this best odds at -106 on DraftKings. I know that this is a value play because the best odds for it aren't the OddsJam line or the BetOnline, 2 of the sharp books that we use to compare, which shows that there is some value on this one. Obviously, if you're not placing bets that have value, it's tough to be profitable in the long run. So I'm glad that this one does have some value. Unfortunately, because of location issues, my DraftKings account is locked. So I can't lock this one in on DraftKings. I'll have to do the next best one on BetMGM. Unfortunately, also unlucky, BetMGM has me limited, so I won't be able to get the full unit that I would like to place on this one. I would like to put a full unit on this one. So for those of you at home tailing this Moneyline parlay, it should be a unit play. So if I click place bet, we'll see how much they let me get. Actually, that is significantly more than they normally do. 85.93 isn't bad. So I'm going to go ahead and lock this one in for as close to a unit as I can get. So my Moneyline parlay going to be the Rams Moneyline, Bengals Moneyline, and the Broncos Moneyline. 3 teams that I am very confident are going to win outright. I don't like adding more than 3 or 4 teams because upsets are bound to happen. You can't just parlay every favorite and expect to win. Obviously, upsets are going to happen, but these are 3 teams that I think are upset proof. Other big favorites make me nervous, like the Browns. They still are starting Jacoby Brissett at quarterback. The Colts just seem to have a weird issue. They just can't beat the Jaguars. The Raiders, yeah, I can see that one. I considered it. The 49ers, same thing. I considered them. But with how bad Trey Lance looked, I felt risky backing them. Even though that game was in the rain, there's a lot of factors. But decided to just go the safe route. Pick the Broncos, pick the Bengals, pick the Rams as my moneyline favorite parlay. So if you are tailing this, let me know. I would love to hear it. Hopefully I'm able to cash this one after being unable to cash this the previous one. But other than that, make sure to go to OddsJam, check out their line shopping tool. It's completely free. There's no reason for you to be placing bets at -191 when you can get the Chiefs at -175. So check out the OddsJam line shopping tool. Like I said, completely free. If you want to check out the OddsJam podcast, you can at Sweat the Bet. But that's going to be it. So appreciate you guys watching. Again, would appreciate if you could like the video and subscribe to the OddsJam YouTube channel. But that's it. So thanks for watching and have a good one.